I was hired to plan a billionaire heiress's wedding. The groom was my husband. He said he was on an oil rig. He was actually Blake. In the luxury wedding industry, my job is to be invisible. I am the architect of the fairy tale. I make sure the champagne is chilled to exactly 42 degrees. I make sure the peonies don't wilt under the stage lights. I make sure the crazy aunt with the flask stays away from the open mic. I wear black. I wear a headset. And if I do my job right, no one knows I exist. I am the ghost in the machine of someone else's happiness. I didn't realize that being invisible would make me the perfect victim for the greatest con of my career. My name is Chloe. I am 29 years old, and I own Chloe Events, a boutique wedding planning firm in Chicago. If you looked at my Instagram, you would see a curated feed of silk ribbons, gold-rimmed chargers, and smiling brides. You would see a life of effortless elegance. In reality, I was drowning. The wedding industry is fickle. 2 canceled high-profile weddings earlier this year, one due to a scandal, one due to a hurricane, had left me with non-refundable deposits to vendors and zero income. I was floating payroll on my personal credit cards. I was dodging calls from the venue owners. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. My husband, Ryan, was supposed to be my rock. He was 32, charming, and worked in energy logistics. It was a vague, masculine job that required him to spend weeks at a time on offshore oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. He was my hero. He sacrificed so much, missing birthdays and anniversaries, working in dangerous conditions so we could build a life. One more rotation, babe, he told me 6 weeks ago, kissing me goodbye at the O'Hare drop-off curtain. He tossed his battered duffel bag over his shoulder. This bonus is going to be huge. It's going to clear the business debt. Then I'm home for good. No more rigs. Just us. I believed him. I needed to believe him. I watched him walk into the terminal, feeling a pang of guilt that he was working so hard while my business was failing. While he was gone, I got the call that was supposed to save me. Her name was Isabella. She was 22. She was the sole heiress to a commercial real estate empire that owned half the skyline of Chicago. And she was sweeter than the 5-tier buttercream cake she would eventually order. I found you on Pinterest, she chirped over FaceTime. She was sitting in a penthouse that looked bigger than my entire apartment building. I love your aesthetic. It's so moody but romantic. Thank you, Isabella, I said, putting on my best professional smile. What kind of timeline are we looking at? Fast, she whispered, leaning into the camera. She flashed a diamond ring that looked like a skating rink. 8 carats, emerald cut, flawless. We need to get married in 14 days. Daddy gave me an unlimited budget. He just wants me happy. 14 days. In the wedding world, that isn't a timeline, it's a suicide mission. Most brides plan for 18 months. But then she dropped the magic words. My budget is open. And I'm willing to pay a $50,000 rush fee for your coordination. $50,000. It was enough to pay off the business loans. It was enough to save the house. It was a lifeline thrown to a drowning woman. I'll take it, I said, my voice steady, though my heart was hammering. There's one thing, Isabella said, twirling her blonde hair. My fiancé, Blake, is terribly busy. He's an international consultant. He's stuck in Zurich closing a merger. He won't be able to make it to any of the tastings or fittings. He'll fly in just for the rehearsal dinner. A missing groom. A rushed timeline. An unlimited budget. In hindsight, these weren't red flags. They were neon signs screaming, run. But desperation smells stronger than danger. That's not a problem, I lied. We handle busy grooms all the time. I worked 18-hour days for 2 weeks. I didn't sleep. I practically lived on caffeine and adrenaline. I sourced rare white orchids from a grower in Holland and had them air-freighted overnight. I booked the grand ballroom at the Peninsula Hotel, a feat that usually takes a year on the waiting list, by calling in every favor I had. I managed Isabella's meltdowns over napkin shades. It needs to be oyster, Chloe, not pearl. I was the perfect professional. I was the general of a small army of florists, caterers, and lighting technicians. Throughout it all, I texted Ryan. Me, landed a whale client. We're going to be okay. Miss you. Ryan, that's my girl. So proud of you. Signal is bad here. Storm coming in. Might be offline for a few days. Love you. I pictured him on a rig, battered by waves, thinking of me. The rehearsal dinner was held in a private dining room at a Michelin-starred restaurant in the West Loop. The room smelled of truffle oil and expensive perfume. Isabella looked stunning in a white cocktail dress by Oscar de la Renta, surrounded by her wealthy family. Her father, a terrifying man named Mr. Sterling, was holding court with a scotch in his hand. I was in the corner, wearing my standard, invisible black, power suit, holding my clipboard, checking the seating chart for the 10th time. He's here. Isabella squealed, clapping her hands. Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. Daddy, Blake is here. The double doors opened. In walked Blake, the international consultant. The man who had been closing mergers in Zurich. He was wearing a bespoke Tom Ford tuxedo. He was tanned, a deep, golden tan that didn't come from a Swiss boardroom. He was smiling that easy, charismatic smile that could charm the birds out of the trees. It was Ryan. My Ryan. My husband, who was supposed to be covered in grease on an oil rig 500 miles off the coast of Texas. The clipboard dropped from my hands. It hit the marble floor with a loud clatter that echoed through the room. Ryan looked over. His eyes met mine. Time stopped. You read about that in books, but it really happened. The sound of the wind, the laughter, the clinking glasses, sucked out into a vacuum. I waited for him to gasp. I waited for him to look horrified. I waited for the panic. But he didn't panic. He looked annoyed. He looked at me with a slight frown, like I was a scheduling conflict he hadn't anticipated. A minor inconvenience. Isabella rushed to him. Blake, darling. You made it. She threw her arms around his neck. He caught her, spinning her around, kissing her deeply. The same way he used to kiss me when he came home from a rotation. Sorry I'm late, sweetheart, he said. His voice. That voice I woke up to for 5 years. The jet had a headwind. Come meet my planner. Isabella dragged him toward me. This is Chloe. She's a miracle worker. She did all of this in 2 weeks. Ryan walked over, with Isabella hanging on his arm like a trophy. He extended his hand. He looked me dead in the eye. A pleasure to meet you, Chloe, he said, his voice smooth as silk. I've heard wonderful things. Thank you for taking care of my Bella. I stared at his hand. I saw the watch on his wrist. A Rolex Daytona. I had never seen that watch. It cost more than my car. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was being crushed by a hydraulic press. I need to check on the kitchen, I managed to choke out. My voice sounded foreign, like it was coming from underwater. I turned and ran. I didn't walk. I ran into the service corridor. I leaned against the cold tile wall next to the ice machine, hyperventilating. I clawed at my neck, loosening my scarf. My husband was marrying a billionaire heiress using a fake name. He wasn't on an oil rig. He was a con man. And I was planning his wedding. 2 minutes later, the kitchen door opened. Ryan slipped inside. He locked the door behind him. He cornered me by the dishwashing station. The noise of the industrial sprayer covered our voices. "What the hell are you doing here?" I hissed, shaking so hard my teeth rattled. "Working a mark," he said calmly, adjusting his silk tie in the reflection of a stainless steel fridge. "What are you doing here? You said you had a whale client. You didn't say it was the Sterlings." "I'm the planner, you psychopath. I'm planning your wedding. To another woman." "Well, this is awkward," Ryan said. He checked his cufflinks. "Look, Chloe. I don't have time for a scene. I'm close to closing this deal. Her dad is putting $10 million into my consulting firm as a wedding gift. That's the long con. You're married to me." I screamed in a whisper. "We have a mortgage. We have a dog." "Details," Ryan scoffed. "Listen to me very carefully, Chloe. I know you're broke. I saw the foreclosure notice on the counter before I left. I know about the business debt." He stepped closer, invading my space. The smell of his cologne, a scent I didn't recognize, filled my nose. "If you go out there and make a scene," he whispered, his voice dropping to a menacing growl, "Isabella's dad will crush you. Mr. Sterling eats people like you for breakfast. He'll sue your company for breach of contract. He'll sue you for emotional distress. You'll be destitute. Your reputation will be destroyed. You'll never plan a dog birthday party in this town again." He was right. I was trapped. If I exposed him now, without proof, it would be my word against his. And Sterling would destroy me just for ruining the night. "What do you want?" I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "Be a professional," Ryan said. "Suck it up. Finish the job. Put on the wedding tomorrow. Get your 50 grand. Once I secure the bag with Isabella, once the 10 million clears, I'll cut you a check for 100 grand and give you a quiet divorce. Everybody wins. You get out of debt, I get rich." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. It was a gesture of intimacy that made my skin crawl. "Don't screw this up, Chloe. I mean it. Do it for the money." He turned and walked back out to his fiancée. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by steam and dirty dishes. I felt dirty. I felt complicit. I had a choice. I could burn it all down right now. I could run out there screaming. Or I could do my job. I wiped my face. I fixed my lipstick. I picked up my clipboard. I chose to do my job. But not the way Ryan thought. The wedding day was a blur of adrenaline and suppressed rage. It was the hardest performance of my life. I was flawless. I was a machine. I fixed the floral arch. I calmed Isabella's mother when the zipper on her dress stuck. I coordinated the limo arrival. I walked into the groom's suite to pin the boutonnieres. Ryan was there, drinking scotch with his groomsmen, actors he had hired, I realized. Men I had never seen before. I walked up to him. I held the white rose. "You look nervous, Blake," I whispered, pinning the flower to his lapel. The needle was inches from his chest. Just do your job, he muttered, not making eye contact. Is the wire transfer ready for the vendor payments? Everything is on schedule, I said. He stood at the altar, looking like the perfect groom. Isabella walked down the aisle, crying happy tears. She looked like an angel. A lamb walking to the slaughter. They exchanged vows. I stood 10 feet away, in the shadows, holding the ring-bearer's pillow. I listened to my husband promise to love and cherish another woman. I listened to him recite vows that were eerily similar to the ones he wrote for me. I promise to be your shelter in the storm. It made me want to vomit. But I held it together. The reception was in the grand ballroom. It was spectacular. $200,000 worth of flowers. A 10-piece orchestra. Crystal chandeliers dripping from the ceiling. Ryan was working the room, charming the investors, playing the part of the wealthy consultant. He was in his element. He winked at me across the room as if to say, "See? We're pulling it off. We're a team." Then came the toasts. The best man gave a generic speech. Isabella's dad gave a speech about welcoming Blake into the family empire. "I've never met a young man with such vision," he boomed. Then, the DJ announced the final feature of the evening. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a special presentation. A look back at the love story of Blake and Isabella, curated by their wonderful planner, Chloe. The lights dimmed. All eyes turned to the massive 20-foot LED screen behind the head table. Ryan looked relaxed. He took a sip of champagne. He was expecting a montage of photos I had pulled from Isabella's Instagram, vacation photos, date nights, cute selfies. He wasn't expecting what I had loaded onto the USB drive 10 minutes ago. I had locked the AV booth door from the inside so no one could stop it. The music started. A romantic ballad. Our wedding song. The screen faded in. It wasn't a photo of Ryan and Isabella in Zurich. It was a photo of Ryan and me. 5 years ago. Our wedding day. We were cutting the cake. I was wearing white. He was wearing the same charming smile he wore today. The ballroom went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Ryan froze, his champagne glass halfway to his mouth. His face went slack. The slide changed. A high-resolution scan of our marriage certificate. Ryan Miller and Chloe Davis. Dated, June 12, 2019. Status, active. A murmur went through the crowd. A ripple of confusion. Isabella turned to Ryan, her brow furrowed. "Blake? Who is that? Is that Chloe?" Ryan stood up. "Technical glitch," he shouted, waving his hands. "Cut the feed. Turn it off." But the DJ couldn't turn it off. I had bypassed the mixer. The slide changed again. This time, it wasn't photos. It was screenshots. I had spent the morning hacking into his laptop while he was getting a massage. I knew his passwords. He was lazy. Password 123. Bank statements. Ryan's personal Wells Fargo account. Deposit, $250,000, from Isabella Real Estate Trust, wedding deposit. Withdrawal, $50,000, DraftKings Sportsbook. Withdrawal, $75,000, MGM Grand Casino Las Vegas. Withdrawal, $10,000, OnlyFans, user, Big Spender 88. The murmurs turned into gasps. People stood up. Isabella's father turned a dangerous shade of purple. Blake. Isabella screamed. What is this? Ryan looked at me. He looked across the ballroom to where I was standing by the AV booth. His eyes were pure murder. You bitch, he screamed. You ruined everything. The final slide appeared. It was a video. A screen recording I had made yesterday in the kitchen, using the security camera feed on my phone. It played on the massive 20-foot screen. The audio was crystal clear, booming through the concert-grade speakers. Ryan's voice: if you go out there and make a scene, Isabella's dad will crush you. Once I secure the bag with Isabella, I'll cut you a check. It's the long con. Isabella stood up. She looked at the screen, then at Ryan. The naive heiress was gone. In her place was a woman realizing she almost handed her fortune, and her life, to a monster. She slapped him. It was a loud, cracking sound that echoed through the ballroom. Blake, she whispered. Is your name even Blake? Ryan stammered, holding his cheek. Bella, baby, listen, it's complicated, she's crazy, she doctored those photos, it's AI deepfake. I walked to the center of the dance floor. I held a microphone. I looked immaculate. His name is Ryan Miller, I said, my voice calm and professional. He is my husband. He is not on an oil rig. He is a con artist with a severe gambling addiction. And he is currently committing bigamy. I looked towards the ballroom double doors. And I took the liberty of inviting some additional guests to the reception. They hate to miss a good party. The doors burst open. 4 uniformed Chicago police officers walked in. Ryan Miller, the lead officer, shouted. You're under arrest for fraud, grand larceny, and bigamy. Ryan tried to run. He actually tried to bolt for the service exit, the same one he used to corner me in the kitchen. But Isabella's father, Mr. Sterling, was faster. For a 60-year-old man in a tuxedo, he moved like a linebacker. He tackled Ryan before he got 5 feet. It was chaos. Beautiful, expensive chaos. Waiters dropped trays. Guests screamed. The police dragged Ryan out in handcuffs, still wearing his Tom Ford tuxedo, kicking and screaming that he was innocent. The room slowly quieted down. Isabella was crying in her father's arms. Her father looked up. He looked at me. He walked over to me, leaving his daughter with her mother. He looked terrifying. Did you know? He asked gruffly. I found out last night at the rehearsal, I said. I had to make sure the contract was fulfilled before I exposed him. I didn't want you to sue me for breach of contract. I am a professional, after all. The father stared at me for a long moment. Then, he nodded slowly. He understood business. He understood leverage. He stole the deposit money? Sterling asked. Yes, I said. But I have the logs. You can recover it. You saved my daughter from a nightmare, Sterling said. And you threw a hell of a party. The next day, a courier delivered an envelope to my office. It contained a certified check for $50,000. My commission. And a second check for $25,000. A bonus. And a note that said, "Thank you for the best show in town. We will be pressing charges to the fullest extent of the law." I paid off my business debt. I paid off the mortgage. I filed for divorce while Ryan sat in county jail without bail, flight risk. I updated my website portfolio. Under special skills, I added crisis management, fraud detection, and high-stakes event security. Business has never been better. #The Wedding Planner.